everyone. I'm Matt Williamson. Your Steelers are 1-0. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and we are going to get into it and dig a little deeper, a lot deeper than I did yesterday. Still a lot to be concerned about, and there's no question about that. I think you can make I definitely think you can make the argument that on a play-by-play basis that the Jets were the better team. Just play in, play out. But there's also an art to winning in this league, and when you make big plays and sticking around and all that good stuff, and the Steelers did it and find a way to win, and special teams was a huge aspect of it. Boz, Gainwell with that fumble, forced fumble. But as we usually do on Tuesdays, I'm recording this on Monday, but let's dig into snap counts. The only offensive players that played every snap were the quarterback and the 5 offensive linemen. Okay. But DK Metcalf was right behind. He played 54 out of 56 snaps. Only took 2 plays off for Metcalf. I assume that's going to be the norm with this guy. Calvin Austin played 45. And then we got kind of a drop-off here. We got Jonnu at 37. Gainwell at 29. Freiermuth at 28. Darnell had 26. Warren 25. I wouldn't have bet on Smith and Gainwell being next up on that list. So Warren's at 25, and then we have a real drop-off. Skournick, Roman Wilson, 10 each. Only 9 for Miller. Those 3 kind of rotated in as the third receiver. Connor Hayward was out there for 4, and Caleb Johnson was out there for 2. Jalen Ramsey's listed on here for 1. I assume he was the Minka in the victory formation. I didn't even think twice about that. Defensively, 3 players played every snap. Slay, Ramsey, who's never going to leave the field, and Queen. Okay. Highsmith played 57 out of 64. Peyton Wilson played 56, as did TJ Watt. Thornhill played 54. Benton, 47. Might have been too many. That's a lot for him. Porter, 44. Cam played 43. Chuck Clark, 32 after the Elliott injury, which we don't know about yet. You might by the time you listen to this. I don't on Monday evening. Loudermilk, 31. Elliott lasted 26, unfortunately. Y.A. Black, 24. And then we get in kind of the spot guys here. Sawyer played 15. Ukele played 12, and thought he played pretty well, by the way, for a D-line that did not play well. Eccles, 10. I'm a fan. Malik Harrison, 4 before he got injured, and just 1 snap for Logan Lee. I don't think that's a ringing endorsement for Logan Lee. Football season is finally here. Time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on FanDuel Sportsbook. Think the Steelers ahead of the Super Bowl? Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so you can join in on all the action.
Hey guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase.
So lots of little nuggets here, as I often do the day after the game. You know how I've been harping on, again, one game. I've been harping on sack ratio and explosive ratio and how those are very much tellers of wins and losses. Well, they're -3 in sack ratio after one game. They're -3 in explosive play ratio after one game. Steelers had 0 explosive runs. That's 10 yards or more. Jets had 6. But explosive passes are 15 or more. Steelers had 8. Jets only had 5. So you add that up, -3. Pressures. Steelers had 18. That's a lot. And I do think they got after Fields and had a tough time getting him on the ground. And I also think that they mush rushed him to some degree, and it hurt them because Fields was so good from the pocket, but they wanted to keep him in the pocket. So I don't think putting him on his back was always priority number one. But still, 18 pressures is a lot. And you know how much pressure Rodgers was under. The Jets only were recorded with 13 pressures. Now the ball came out quicker, much. We'll get to that in a minute too. So EPA per pass play, both were excellent. 0.20 for the Steelers, which means every time you drop back to pass, you basically do the equivalent of adding 0.2 points to the scoreboard. Jets were even better, 0.29. So these two passing games were highly efficient, really, really good. Tackles for loss in the run game. If you just look at tackles for loss, you'll see sacks on there too. But Jets only had 2, which isn't a huge number or a little number. Steelers had 5. And now they run the ball a lot, but still they did have 5 big plays in the run game behind the line of scrimmage. How about this one though? Average rushing yards before contact. Behind the line of scrimmage for the Steelers. That's awful. Minus 0.3. So your average run play when you were contacted was behind the line of scrimmage. Slightly, but still before contact. Jets were at 1.6. So they're already getting like a step past the line of scrimmage before they're even getting contact. To me, that's a huge story of this game. I mean, that is a big difference. Now, rushing yards after contact, now that's on the back, where that first stat's going to be on the blocking. We're about the same. 2.9 for the Steelers, 3.1 for the Jets. So the backs did, I would have thought even higher because Hall was really impressive. I mentioned before, average time to throw. Ball came out quick for Rodgers. 2.29 seconds. That's about as fast as you'll see. Now, they did throw a lot of screens, threw some passes behind the line of scrimmage. We'll get to that. Fields was even more than a second longer. 3.38 compared to 2.29. That's a big deal, man. That's a big difference. Remember how some of you are old enough to remember 2 years ago and followed my work then, how I would whine and complain about how they never ran play action and all that good stuff. Play action is back, and Rodgers completed 8 out of 10 of his play action attempts for 71 yards and 3 of his touchdowns. I think you're going to see a lot of it this year. Absolutely. So, Fields, I was really impressed with Fields. He had, and almost all of his rushing numbers were on designed runs. So he had 10 designed runs and had a 70% success rate. Means the play was, I could explain it to you, but I'm just 70% of the time when he ran the ball on designed runs were what we deem successful plays for the Jets offense, which is not a good sign for the Steelers defending him as a runner, knowing exactly what he's going to do and not handling the zone read very well. And he threw just under 32% of his passes over the middle of the field. Not something he was asked to do here or did much here and isn't known for it in his career. But Fields, I think this was the best game of his career, to be very honest with you. But that's highly encouraging for him. And I'm rooting for Justin Fields, I'll be honest. But throwing over the middle of the field with success is a big deal. Now, teams historically do target the Steelers a lot over the middle of the field, more than most defenses. The last couple of years, they've been at the top of the league in terms of what percentage of passes are thrown over the middle against the Steelers D. So again, talking about the Rodgers stuff, I know I'm kind of all over the place here, but he threw 8 passes yesterday behind the line of scrimmage. Now that's not bad. You know, like I put some of these stats out there today and everyone's like, why are you killing on Rodgers? And the stats are mostly things like, well, I'll just read them. Okay. So he had 8 passes behind the line of scrimmage, but that accounted for 43 yards. And they're an extension of the run game, you know. 10 passes between 0 and 10 air yards. So super quick hitters. 76 yards you got out of them, though. That's 7.8 a clip. And only 1 pass over 20 yards. So his average depth of target was very, very low. and just one throw over 20 yards. I put those numbers out there, and everyone's like, why are you hating on Rodgers? I'm like, no, I'm not hating. If he threw deep every time, doesn't mean it's good quarterback play. I mean, that was what was given. They couldn't run the ball and they couldn't protect. So he got it out quick and they got the most out of what they could get. I thought it was a positive thing. Just because they're low numbers doesn't mean they're not effective. And then this kind of overlaps with that. He had a 136.7 passer rating, which I'm not the biggest fan of passer rating, but still, that was higher than any game he played for the Jets. Pretty good. How about this one? So I think it was pretty clear that they were avoiding Sauce Gardner. I mean, if you know the status of that Jets secondary, Gardner's a really good player. The rest of it, let's just say, is a work in progress. But he lined up across DK Metcalf on 30 of his 33 routes. That's 90% of his routes. Metcalf saw Sauce. And on those ones, DK only caught one ball for 11 yards. And he ended up the day with 4 receptions for 83 yards on 7 targets, averaging just 3.2 air yards per target, the lowest in the game over his career. So again, they threw it to him short. He's usually a deep threat guy. But 3 of his 4 catches were on the 3 snaps that Sauce wasn't on him. I mean, that's pretty nuts. And so it just screams to me, Rodgers is not throwing at Sauce. That's part of the plan. And Austin benefited. We'll get to that kind of stuff too. But if he saw anybody on Metcalf not named Sauce, I'm going there. That's my guy. Good for Rodgers. He tied Tom Brady for the most career games with 4+ passing touchdowns and no interceptions. Think about that. Brady and Rodgers have had 28 games like the one we just saw where they're 4-0. 28 times. It's amazing. Most quarterbacks have 1, 2, and have nice long careers. This was also Fields' best EPA per pass play. He was amongst the best quarterbacks in the league this week of EPA per pass play. How about this? I know EPA can be confusing for you guys, and it confuses me a little bit too. The Steelers finished this game with a plus 9.8 in special teams EPA. Obviously, special teams was huge. You kick a 60-yarder, 56-yarder. You create a fumble at a crucial time. Aaron Rodgers has had 263 career starts. That's the 3rd most support he has ever got from special teams. Pretty crazy. I wanted to list some guys that were even better than I thought when I watched this a second time. And basically, they were all Jets. And if I were the Jets, I'd be thrilled with this because these are the guys you want to be the fixture of your team. Fields, Hall, Membo, and really the entire offensive line was really good for the Jets. And the Steelers' D-line was bad, but that doesn't mean both can't be true. And they took Tippmann and moved him from center to guard. He did really well. And his replacement, Josh Myers, at center, did really, really well. I thought Quinnen Williams was incredible, to be honest with you. I thought their edge guys, McDonald and Johnson, were exceptional. And as mentioned, Sauce was really good in this game too. And they just didn't even try against them. I also thought 2 Steelers that you want to hear about, Ramsey, Watt, both should hold their head up real high, that they both played high-quality games. A couple other little things here. Well, I got quite a bit. 43% of Fields' targets went to Garrett Wilson. It's a ton. I mean, we'll get to Jackson Smith and Jigba in here in a little bit when we start talking about Seattle. But, I mean, 1 receiver for these teams. I thought really Rodgers and Arthur Smith, and this is something maybe we'll talk more about tomorrow throughout the week, really had a really good understanding for one another. The play calls, the adjustments, the lines. I thought both those guys, play calling, offensive structure, not execution is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying the execution is bad, but just all the coach quarterback stuff was really, really good. Early downs was a problem again. It was okay for the Steelers, but 3rd and 4th was much worse. I talked about success rate earlier. What percentage of those plays are successful? Their early down runs, only 28% of them were considered successful. It's terrible. It really is. I don't know what to make of the Gainwell and Warren splits. We talked about their snap counts before. I don't want to look too much into it, but I do think Gainwell is now the third down back and Warren is now the early down. Doesn't mean he's not going to catch passes, but I don't expect it to be Gainwell getting more snaps than Warren, but that is what happened. It's also very clear, if you didn't catch it with the snap count stuff, Austin is the number 2 receiver. And the other 3 guys, Skoranek, Miller, Roman, all factored in as that third receiver. As we mentioned, Metcalf never left the field. But I thought it was really noteworthy that when they had to throw, I think and with some running stuff, Skoranek's going to be out there over Miller or particularly Roman when they're in 11 personnel. But I think it's noteworthy that when the game is on the line and everyone knew they had to throw that last drive, Roman Wilson was the third receiver. So I think they definitely still see him as the third best receiver, pass catcher. So I think that's interesting as well. We did not see as much Darnell Washington as I would have liked. And I think looking back on it, he could have been helpful, particularly to Broderick Jones. That's really about it. That's what I got here. Breece Hall kind of took over that backfield too. I just thought that was kind of noteworthy. There was a lot of, that's kind of a fantasy nugget that a lot of people weren't sure. Is it going to be Hall? They going to have a committee? Well, Hall looked like their best guy and really was impressive. And again, he was on my list of even better than I thought. And the Jets were as a whole too. It wouldn't shock me that I know some people are looking at this like, well, the Jets and Browns are the worst teams in the AFC and this isn't that great a win. And I mentioned I thought the Jets might have been the better team on just a per snap basis. But I think the Jets are going the right direction. And if I were a Jets fan, I'd be pretty comfortable. I'd be pretty happy. I know you got a loss, but I would be like, man, the guys that you're counting on to be good players, and they had good players last year, they had a lot of dysfunction, are living up to that and played quite well yesterday. All right, everyone. We will talk tomorrow.